enough to give us a Shasta opals. And that really meant a lot. And we took them home, and Tantra one day invited Sarah and me to come in. She said, all right, we're going to talk to the opals. So she laid them off, and Sarah and I are sitting there going, we're going to talk to these crystals. like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And so it ended up that we would each pick that drew us, because the vision was for them to go to the Temple of Human Ambassadors, and the ambassadors from Shasta and from you. So we sat and we looked at the Shasta opals, Sarah, and fascinating what words came out. I don't remember all of them, but I know community came out. I know underground came out. I know I found a unicorn. And just sitting with them was bringing in the magic of the whole crystal realm and the mountain. We boxed them all up, we wrapped them and put them in little box. And when we sent it to Shama, she was like, oh no, you didn't mail anything here. It's never going to get here. And we've had experiences like this with the Italian post office quite rapidly. And then she knew just what to do with them, so they went to Piopra, and then they ended up in the temple. And then each of us have one. And then when it came back through Mount Sally, we took Shasta crystals there, and we did offerings at the rivers and the waters, and we left a Shasta crystal at each of the places that we went. And she's taken them other places, so we've really, really bonded with these Shasta opals, used them to let the earth know we care.
So we've really here. Yeah. Hello. My name is Blue Wolf Medicine Owl. I'm of the Lakota tribe. It goes very far back in this modern time. Ancestors you may all know of. My great-great-great-grandfather was Sitting Bull. As far as the Lakota side, on both my mother and father's side, probably almost 40%. Been here for about 8 years. For her to open up a little more and guide me in the direction to find the opal. And in my time, I've learned a lot personally, not information that's passed down from other tribes or other people, but from my heartbeat and me. I've spent a lifetime cultivating the ability to go into silence with things and embrace the darkness of stillness. Came to be about 600,000 years ago. And as you most know, it's two mountains you kind of see when you look up there. One came on the north-south years later, and one came on the east-west. So there are two energy lines that go. First one opened, not necessarily male, female, just companions. And there's a lot to be taught in the sacredness of kids. In our moments of solitude, we can achieve a lot of mastery. But the understanding of coming together and forming with another consciousness can enlighten us and bring about together when we share. You see it in sacred geometry, the Bessie's crisis. You see how when the two come together, they make life. Then are seen through her visible appearance. Transformation comes from going and then emerging with masculine, with force, with energy, cracking the shell of the egg, if you will. And actually, transformation, one of the gifts she gives is balance, understanding all of that. We have to balance in this world. Balance our male and our female. It's the adult who has to drive the car, pay the bills, do ceremony and dance, and celebrate with no worries. We have to balance our spiritual side and our earthbound, grounded connectedness. So our heads don't live in the clouds so much that people cannot relate to us. So one of her biggest gifts of transformation is to help you notice those parts of self that may be out of balance. And to some who self-reflection doesn't come as a gift that she gives is a little intense. She'll stir them up inside of you, make you look at things that maybe you did not think were out of harmony with your true self. And you may not. So that's my take from what I have learned. The natives have revered the mountain. 2 or 3 sacred spots. Panther Meadows is one of the most sacred locations. 2 or 3 local tribes that, and most of those tribes have tail to not go above the sea. It's all rock. Most of them tail of interesting, very tall, dark black eyes. And most all of them warn their children to not go above.
What are the tribes here?
What's that?
What are the tribes here?
The Wintu and the Karuk are the two main tribes. They don't have a local reservation. Most of them are friends with many of the different tribes. They're beautiful. They do good ceremony. They're good people. It seems that there's an understanding and a respect for that is up there. That most of the tribes here just left alone, and we're not taught to interact with or exchange with out of respect and or sometimes fear as well. They're warned of scary tales, much like you saw in Germany with the Hansel and Gretel tales to scare the children from the forest. Similar tale. And so there's lots of lore of interest up there, but most people don't realize that this is the 4th Mount Shasta. If you wish to look back in Earth's history, this is the 4th Mount Shasta. We have a beautiful ridge of mountains all over there. It's called the Werner Valley. These are the remnants of the previous mountains that were once here. Plate tectonics has a way of Smoky Mountains were once in the center, like the Rocky Mountains are now. And look how worn down the old Smoky Mountains are.
Yeah.
Those big old 20,000 foot peaks are worn down. It was a long. And so that's just the way this Turtle Island, we call it in the native land, it's the way it just recycles itself. So, area and their connection of along the actual physical mountain that existed and then exists over there. What there is a primal energy. Pyramid above, pyramid below. Above there. Balanced of the dark and the light. And scientists would tell you that magnetic energy is centered and over millions of years, and eventually it blows, mountain moves, and the magma comes up again. We may see it a little different. It's an energy. It has a very, very high peak. When ceremony is done there, you're that much higher to source, that much higher to creator. Our prayer, not only as if we are energetically, but we are much higher than that. So that's why when you go up there, you feel it. We can go to Colorado and go on a taller mountain, and you may feel the altitude. You may not feel that. It's because of energy center. And in this presentation, it has shown itself as a duality, as our existence. And you may see we have very interesting dark times that we are kind of going through. And there's a lot of misunderstanding in teachings of the dark. And I carry out, we learn, apply, and utter pitch black. We fly towards the light. You navigate through the darkest of realms. How to see through deception. How to see through what some may call the veil of deception that is created in many ways. And there's been a grand misconception of mixed in with dark emotions, anger and hatred. And that's much different. Like when you enter the darkness of the Moon Lodge, honor that. And we all know when you slow down to create something, you have to go into that dark space. You have to that moment of silence. And it's that with before meeting the light, balance of stillness and then the light. But everyone, a lot of people fear because it's not mind filling thoughts. And there was a lot of misconception of how after the native area a long time ago, everything was viewed as sacred. Everything crazy made. And so for this ceremony, part of, I think, from what I've felt and seen, the stillness, the balance of honoring that darkness is very vital. All too often, too many people light in their life. They want to build a city of light. They want this amazing place of just pure. Attract the dark into their world, though, because all they focus in on is the light. They don't know how to have a balanced dark practice. And so, as much as this is going to beam light out to all known existences that this can connect to, downward. That's what this mountain teaches. So above, so it's below. So I think that needs to be we enter this, experiences that all too often when bad things happen, we associate that with that darkness. Teaches us in the night. That's what needs to be part of this reality going forward, so we can teach this next generation how to walk in balance that way. Yes. Sun takes 365 days. Our galaxy circles the great central sun. It takes 20. It's quite a long journey. It's a period of light and it's a period of darkness. December 12th, or December 2012 started that where the 13,000 year period where we were in the dark, as they call the Dark Ages even, finally was over. It would have instant results. It was more like 51%, very little difference. It's like trying to be there and see the first light in the day. You stay up all night and you want to catch that first bright light like we see here. But that's not what comes. What comes is this, and then a little more change. So the darkness has had quite this momentum still, and we're still going through that. That's the last one we were living through. And in that separation, we became separated from the earth. More, how to live without these clothes that are made overseas. Most of us have lost that connection. Secondly, we lost connection with the sacred goddess, the feminine. They used to rule all our tribes. They were all matriarchal. All exist in the world. That's a big part of the journey, is to understand what we were separated from and how we can rejoin. As we points of alignment, like solstices and equinoxes. Well, coming up here on November 2nd is a grand alignment. Light language, star language, many names for this information, decoded information from the 5th dimension, some may call it. lots of names for the same beautiful celestial cycle that's beginning. It's like amazingly strong solar flare that's going to continue for 200 years as it passes through her. And it's going to bring some grand changes.
Yes.
We're on the cusp of free energy. There's physicists right now, amazing things that technology is just about to catch up with. Just right there, ready to change this world as we know it. And the gatekeepers of my generation have to help show. And energetic spiral bridge that you all are helping create are energetic anchorings. Ceremony will anchor to the beautiful amount of energy that comes down. But it's up to you all in your heart how to manifest that energy. How do we follow the beauty path with this? Here in Mount Shasta and go back to your homes and be like, oh. Or you can learn to walk this beauty way every day. Take a little piece, charging this moment of beauty in you. So when you don't feel that, you have a reminder. But what is ceremony really about if you don't walk it, if you don't live it? So to try to honor this experience, remember that, let it change, let it infuse as a mountain. Absolutely. But if you can, learn to love more. We all
And
will
then
be better.
talk about the place you're looking at and what you see about it and how you had to sleep.
Yeah.
I was still standing up right
Absolutely.
though. I'm proud of myself.
This mountain has one area in particular. The magmatic flow happens to be 10 to 40 feet thick in most areas. I'm a person who loves to dig in the earth, and there's not many places up on that mountain that I can actually get into. So I know from looking around that we're avoided to be a gathering spot. And there's a few that I see where spiritual tours come in with the big buses, and they kind of go for convenience. Where the locals go. Night, and sometimes 50, 60 of us drummers play. We have beautiful fires, and we have sometimes 200-300 people for a song. And we really celebrate all welcome, all paths. And up in that area, we have a beautiful medicine wheel, about 30 foot around. One particular tribe. As local people, we just celebrate it and we honor it and we fix it. And there's no stringent rules of enter only on the east and exit only, anything like that. It's just a what you will. But in this area, energy like that is honored. Energy like that is respected.
It means the spiral might actually stay.
Spiral to be a permanent thing, there's a very good chance, and that's what it would remain. And anytime you ever came back, you could visit it and just do it if it needs a little repair. We've done water ceremonies, and sometimes we make water wheels, and you have to go back. Walk around and things happen, and you have to go back, and gives you another excuse to go back to their area anyway. So this sacred land has plentiful open area for that. It would be an attraction to the indigenous spiritual areas where it could be put off grid and hidden, if you will. And there's a beautiful Buddhist temple up on a mountain that certain people are invited to go can practice, and it's just in the bush. I know if we built on their land. But this place I speak of is a little more accessible to all, if you will. And you all and your divine guidance to participate and create this. I'm guided to help in any way I can. I know very little of this actual ceremony. Shaping of this mountain, and how to help hold the vessel for you all.
The reason, it's the thing about how much can get said without saying. We built that little teeny spiral up there. We were here the 5th of April, and I'm sitting there, and he brings me the opals. And he says, if you'd ever like me to take you up on the mountain. The other thing that is he will have to go up and gather rocks first and get them all in one location. Up to the third. And we've opened it. We have not told anybody where we're going to build it because we didn't know. We were waiting on you. But we are opening it for people.
Beautiful.
Yes. We're actually in this discussion. One of our people is starting a health website called Realities of Unity. She's starting, a theater called Unity Theater. This phenomenon of we're all one, and now then a good idea, then an idea. It's no longer becoming optional. And so all the words you said about how the tribes come, this ceremony as one, that we have been looking for.
Absolutely. And there was a time for whatever tribe you look at, whatever ceremony they did, Sundance. There was a day before that where Sundance didn't exist. There was a day where someone in that tribe woke up and said, I have an idea. Yeah. So in this moment, we can birth new things that may last. Mm. And in my Lakota tradition, a sacred holy woman, a sacred grandmother, she came a long time ago. Her name is a white buffalo calf woman. Mm. And she appeared to our tribe a long time ago. She gave us 7 sacred ceremonies for our tribe, Sweat Lodge. Gave us things that helped, but she gave us making of relations. So a few hundred years away, it will be where their red ancestors born in white bodies, but they'll know they're red on the inside. Their whole life, the creator said, I'm going to play a beautiful little trickster game on you this time around. Great Aoku said, you will not be born with a red body. We're all one family. We're all one planetary family. In this weird world of separation, we just forgot it. So that's our current ceremony we're all living in. That we are one family. Thank you, Sacred Grandmother.
Thank you, Grandmother. It's so amazing to have worked over half a century. That was my instruction. It was a very specific mission. It was never to develop anybody. It was because this date had to be kept. Yeah. And since this all started, it gave us our timeline. It's truly been astounding since the beginning of the year. It's truly been astounding how I call it the intelligence, how all of us, in having done what I've done for 57 years, I can promise you it did not start like that. And to feel that birthing of the reju from each other anymore is stunning. And I'd like to tell you a short story. So, I had a dog. Her name was Lily. I had her 15 years. She's been in here. She died, and I got taken to the dark. And she would not leave my. And over the next 3 weeks, with me really in agony, she kept the door open. And I find it so unbelievably miraculous. And this incredible creature kept the door open. And since then, so many people in this room and in our group, almost like the minute Lily passed, have been crossing through the gateway. and I used to in my face. And so all these kind of amazing evidences that and keep reinforcing themselves until you can't miss it. It's right there, and that's all I knew, which is what I've been talking about, is you told me what I did, and I didn't know it'd be about today, this week. I didn't know about COVID. I didn't know nothing about now, and that's the whole people, as a whole people.
Absolutely. I saw COVID as an opportunity, basically a magnifying glass on everyone's internal vibration and frequency that you choose to operate at. So if you're about anger, if you want to try to get your voice heard right now, that's what the mountain said to me. Is it just amplified up everyone inside. It's all this little teeny little microscopic thing.
I've been in.
That's what I've personally seen. Everyone wants to cause destruction within their heart, in their being. So people want more peace. People want to teach more. Then they're like, it's time to teach. It's time to do it. The time of talk is over. I've been aware for a long time, since the 80s. A lot of humanity's just been kind of waiting around. But now there's action being put. They're actually wanting to make the change. So I think everyone is finally honestly ready for peace, as it's been prophesized. There's a beautiful prophecy out there called the Whirling Rainbow. You look that one up. Symbol. It's a beautiful symbol. It's what this symbol way predates any German symbol use of. We call it the Whirling Rainbow. And it's a beautiful thing where there's a cornucopia, horn of plenty, which provides for all of us. And it brings us heaven round and folds it. And it makes the shape that looks like a swastika. But in our world, that prophecy will enlighten many. And it just speaks of a beautiful time. This golden age that have ever existed. We are the people here now to help shift the time from the fourth world separation to this fifth world of peace. In this golden age.
Anything for anybody?
Yeah, I have a kind of mundane question. I'm very attracted to the mountain to the left of Mount Shasta. It's a smaller one. What's the story of that?
That's the second one. Big one's called Shasta, the little one's called Shastina.
They're totally separate one.
They're two different mountains.
Oh, I thought Shastina was
That's what-
Are you talking about Black Butte, the one
No.
that's the smaller Mount Shasta?
Ask him, honey.
definitely smaller.
The big one up on top, like the two peaks, or the littler one that kind of sits off the side?
Little one off the side.
Yeah, that is a whole nother one. There's many. That one's called Black Butte. There's
Okay.
many people believe it's a cinder cone that jumped off the mountain. Couldn't operate that way. Yeah. There's my friends from around here who tap into that energy of that mountain you speak of told me it's the center of the medicine wheel. And then part of it, or like the outer rim of the medicine wheel, that is like the center, like sundial part of the center. He lives really close to that mountain.
Yeah.
It's in his backyard. He just sits there and looks at it every day. Beautiful totem pole, eagle, and fox and fish on it. 20. Those are his words that, yeah. Within medicine, though, there's just certain energies present. You've studied your craft, maybe your spiritual endeavors for a long time, you'll arrive to the north on the medicine wheel. And the north is the gateway to the south. When you think you are the master, you are but the apprentice of the next medicine wheel. And so that transition is made. There's always more growth. There's always another medicine wheel of life. And so here, there are certain energetic experiences like that. and that's what she holds is a certain thing. There's a view towards Medicine Lake, and I think if there's an underground entrance, it would be that.
How do you spell that?
Jot word. Jotdine Ice Cave. The entrance is about as big as this store, drops down about 50 feet, and goes back to the back, and there's a big crevice about like this. It follows, just keeps going way down into the earth. And I've seen 15-foot icicles hanging in the middle of winter. When I first went there about 20 years ago, there was a tree stump. Remember the stumps, and it didn't blow in. The roots were connected way down in. So I used to believe in my head that it was like a tree of life that like lived off of pranic energy, didn't need sunlight, and it was something that was holy to the tribes a long time ago. That's what it said. I brought my 9-year-old child who just talk, and he came into that cave and just sat like, this can't be my child. My child, he just doesn't ever be quiet. And it just took him over. And he sat there for a half hour in utter silence. And I took pictures of him because I'm like, that's not wonderful. And you could feel it like breathe out of there. It's about 40 minutes from here. So there's a few of these points of energy and center, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
You got Castle Lake, Heart Lake, they all kind of make a circle.
They went to the Craigs yesterday. Someone went to the top. They walked.
Can you say more about the Craigs?
To me, they from them when I acknowledge them and connect to them. I see them as some of the ancient ones that are here. Stones are 10,000 times.
10,000, wow.
So you think of a bloodhound, he can smell 10,000 times better than us. So that's why they can smell things in the air that will just blow us away. 10,000 times they can store so much more in their cellular network, if you will, than our bodies can. So ones like that have been sitting there for a long time, patiently watching and kind of scribing.
She was totally fascinated by the Craigs, and her template is research and observing. So that would be her
Exactly.
fascination.
Like, well, that's the source.
What did the indigenous say about the galactic portals, etc., that are reported to be very active here in Mount Shasta?
The tribes around here?
Or what do you learn?
The tribes here don't seem to really use energy. They celebrate the transformational energy. The Hopi too really has strong connection with openings and sacred spots on this planet where beings would visit, and then sacred places where Hopis were prevalent and the ones who visited. If, for example, Hopi lived around here, they would have celebrated the understanding how high up its realm is and how it is able to be such a magical doorway. The tribes here were a little more like salmon, focused on survival, focused. They didn't do the areas in New Mexico, the areas in Arizona that did, the areas in Sedona, for example, was very honored. With those sacred beings in that tribal sense, we learned a lot from them. So here, the archangel connection, some of the violet ray, was observed and understood through the medicine workers in Sedona. It would have been more of an interaction. Well, I think more this last 100 years, or the New Age, a lot more understood that. Does that make sense?
Okay. No, just you.
Okay.
So,
Always.
when you are with the crystals or explorations, tuning into the earth, are you feeling that the crystal realm as well is evolving, as well as human consciousness? Do you see that there? Or are we just discovering what always was there?
The crystals hold an energetic template. Crystals are holding a vibrational set of information. When humanity is read in certain frequencies, certain people are guided to bring and unearth those. And there are stones now that 1,000 years ago for the Mayans. So a long time ago, a full spiritual elder came to me of this earth. And there's a crystal cavern in the center of this earth. The crystals radiate, giant crystals radiate, 7 directions, 7 continents. And the crystals are beautiful. It's a beautiful fire. If you were sitting here, obviously you're in a fire, but it's not made of plasma fire like we pure white light source energy. I don't share that personal side of life very often with people, but lately Creator has been asking me to share with humanity more. And in that crystal center, it's alive. There's a heartbeat. There's a transference of energy. So as different energies are needed from Mama Gaia to come reach us, it doesn't take a million years. It's like energy comes right out. And so it changes forms. You might need that frequency for that time. You might need just light. And it's that energy that permeates. And so it'll stay with it that needs to manifest. That beautiful center place is very magical.
That's so stunning.
Yeah. Those are the areas, some of the pictures of these rooms, it's really hot.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, or is that a different?
No.
That's
Those
a different
are more
energetic.
physical. Those are
More physical.
Those are more on the surface level.
Okay.
And literally, if you went to the floor,
Okay.
you would be in a crystalline room. You would
Okay.
be in a crystal center.
Mhm.
And from that center core, energy is going to radiate out to the continent. This is North America.
Yeah.
Okay? Mushrooms. Mushrooms have a fruiting body, but the actual source of the mushroom growing is a thing called mycelium that grows down deep in the soil. Every so often, it hits the surface. Like mushrooms, it comes up in many forms.
Mhm.
The energy comes from the center. Comes at each continent, 7 different rays. Follow this beautiful pathway of energy. It's all pure white light.
So I've experienced going to the center and
Mhm.
having, the sun is there, and I mean it's a complete, like it is here, only it's pure.
Yep.
But it's, I mean, it's, I don't know how to do it.
Of that emanation is this crystal.
Oh, okay.
That's the heat source, the sun's thing that you're talking about.
But I mean,
Feeling things could be created. Absolutely.
Okay.
All I personally know of is being in that center.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of symbology that looks like petroglyphs, if you will, in this center place. And over a 30-year period, the information has given me more about what that information is. But a beautiful woman named Brooke Medicine Eagle writes about it in her book. And it was one of herself as a journey that Spirit took me to. And then when you see others talk about the exact same thing, and I'm like, okay.
Abraham Cloud talks about the crystal in the center of the
It was, it came to my consciousness a few minutes before you asked that, like, I should share that. And it was kind of like, no, that's personal. But since you asked it right into that, and when I feel it and I see it, there's all in it. When it brought Larimar, it brought that in the 80s. There was a certain something that needed that gentle reminder of the spiritual essence of the heavens. And Larimar has kind of served a lot of its purpose, if you will. Not that it's not admired, but for a while everyone just drank up the knowledge. So as we're speaking, there are new things. And for me, that's how I am guided with teachings the earth will. And lately, it's been a lot of different stones here, because there's different things that needs to come out.
And it's fascinating with the vectors coming in that in the ceremony we've been working from the different continents. And your share brought up is to say there are like those crystals holding those frequencies of those continents. And because we've covered so many of them because of the field of Tantra Maat and it feels crystalline to me, and I love knowing it's connected to the center of the earth. I can't say any more than that, but I think that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. That's what's amazing when we do any work with actual stones and crystals, is because they're so energetic. Pathway.
So it seems, I have this experience that I could go anywhere in the world, anywhere, and in the etheric, because the etheric territory, I mean, we speak about telos. I mean, you probably have more, But lately I've been thinking, well, I could be anywhere, and under the surface is territory.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as we have studied galaxies, and as far as we've looked inward, microscopes, submicroscopes, subatomic, you look at that scale, are the exact middle point. Middle point!
They're the middle point. We're the
With
middle point.
exact,
Absolutely.
on both sides.
Say more about that. Can you say more about that?
We're a balance point, so as large as there are.
Well, I've heard
Rounds.
that, but it's interesting to hear you.
And so, what you might be understanding in the shamanic realm, we talk about, lower world, higher world. There's two worlds. And in the shamanic way, a lot of times it's through drum or through rattle. You go to a place which is very earth-like. It's very amazing. There's tree spirits. You see all kinds of beautiful earth divas. The celestial, fifth-dimensional, blueprinted world of higher order. The lower world can connect you to it'll look exactly like this world, but it can be endless. So you may naturally just gravitate towards the ability to journey, if you will, and that world you find practitioners would call the lower world. And like I said, there's everything there. The most beautiful rivers and grass and creatures and unicorns and everything.
This white four-legged being that is there that I just feel the fur and she's there, always there.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can ask an ally like that to take you to,
Okay.
and it's like you have to push through a plastic wrap or something, and it's kind of stretchy for a while. It's thick and
We call it
viscous,
barbed wire.
like Jello. Like
Yeah.
you and your buddy are flying through that Jello, and then you'll pop in a whole different realm of connection. And so, the beautiful teachings of the lower world. A lot of plant deities. Deities are mountains and just earth spirits that are just wow.
After you're talking, we're going to wrap up pretty soon, but so I get instructed through dream walks, right? And mostly it's just altered intelligence level, so it can fit out here basically. But listening to you talk, and you and Sarah talk instruction about the spiral, not in normal way of thinking, but the first night I had a dream about a spiral coming from above, and which is more a vortex coming from above, just followed all these tunnels everywhere. That was the first one. One of the tunnels went to Uluru, which is our Australian vortex, and they actually even constructed longitude and latitudes. We have a map. I mean, it's quite a complex thing. The second night was because I couldn't find good language. I just said to somebody it looked like it was flushing a toilet. I mean, that's just what it looked like. It was flushing a toilet. But then the second night, from the Earth's center, another vortex started, and it was as if on here was just flushing everything down into the primordial mother for her to use her fire, to use it then to build another vortex that came back up the earth, making energy usable. And it's why I really felt it when you showed me that site, because that kind of site, those kinds of realms, this kind of thing could actually occur because it's not so populated, touristed, anymore, what I would say.
Yeah.
And just listening to what you're saying and listening to what, giving us a way to interact. And one day I said tension, the next day somebody said slope, the next day somebody said a vector, gradient topography of multiple, clearly constructing something that the spiral is the toilet. I can't do this well. It's like that vortex up. And so it's been fascinating to listen to what you're saying. My original memory as a little girl was that I lived, that a bunch of caves all the way down to the center. And so my first memory was something got introduced to the earth that we didn't know because we were pure. And none of us, we'd lost everything. And I was the last one. I was the one closest to the surface. And I watched all my sisters lose their memory, their mind, their consciousness, their everything. And I was the last one left. The path up there, that I have this whole thing around memory, recapturing the original memory, finding the original memory. And I think I would say is the strange thing is I thought the beings came to me, but I think they actually came to me. I think she was the call. But now I really feel that it has something to do with remembrance, that flushing everything out that had us forget, thing that's remembered at the core to come back up feels very real, as part of multiple other things that's probably going on too. This is that.
Absolutely.
So let's see if there's any last minute questions, and then we can get out of here and get you all to the mountain.
That when you shared about the language, the sacred teaching that was there, the immediate flash I had too was of the Temple of Humankind at Damanhur, which is related to this as well, because Falco left painted on the walls of that temple many languages which we don't remember anymore. And it felt like, in a way, you and Falco connected in that moment for me. So.
Thank you forever.
Yes.
Thank you
very much. Thanks so
I'm
much.
glad.
Oh, my legs don't work.